Hello to you and welcome to Adelante Chicago. I'm Lourdes Duarte. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bienvenidos. Let's begin with the Latino Policy Forum's newest strategy plan. This week they rolled out a plan to raise awareness about the issues impacting Latinos across the country for 2017 and beyond. And joining us to help us understand that plan is Sylvia Puente, Executive Director at the Latino Policy Forum. She's been here many times before and it's always wonderful to see you.
Good to see you, Lourdes. Thanks for having me.
Sylvia, let's talk about this change in strategy and how it came about.
Yeah. So Latino Policy Forum is 8 years old as an organization, and it's just always a good idea to take a reflection point periodically to figure out what you're focused on and where you're headed. And so the Latino Policy Forum did a deep dive into really understanding the environment we're living in, the demographics of the community locally and nationally, what our strengths were, what our weaknesses were, and talked to a lot of stakeholders, our coalition partners, of whom there are nearly 100, as well as foundation leaders and civic leaders about where we're headed and what we should do.
Okay, and you found what?
And we found a couple of really interesting things. Even outside of the organization, a lot of civic leaders and our GROW members were concerned, are we stretched too thin? And the message really came back that we need to focus on depth over breadth. So part of the plan is how do we really focus and prioritize what we're doing. So it's not a revision, it's more a refinement and a refocusing of the issues that we have been working on. So depth over breadth so that we can have impact, that there are a lot of people who know us and those who know us like us, but there aren't enough people who know about the good work we're doing. So we're also putting in place a whole plan to expand our external communications. And to that I'll say to any of your listeners, latinopolicyforum.org, get signed up so you know what it is that we're doing. But our essential core mission of what we're going to do and the way in which we work is basically going to remain the same. Okay. Refinement will be that over half of our organizational resources go into education, and while we will still continue to work in immigration, when we look at where we're headed as a community, investing in our children, our second generation, education as a foundation for economic mobility is critically important.
And you invest in education. How do you do that? By just creating policy that helps Latinos, or?
We do. One example around that, Lourdes, is that right now there's new federal education legislation that's being put into place, and the state has to submit its plan for that to the federal government by early next year. For the first time ever, one of the requirements is that schools and school districts and states must now report on the progress of English language learners and learning English. This has never been required before. So we have been very involved, along with a lot of other partners, in saying, how are we going to measure progress for English language learners? What's the right assessment? What's the right test? How much should it count in whether or not a school district's academic achievement? Should a school district be deemed to be doing well if its English language learners aren't? So informing that level of policy, which obviously isn't headline news, but really is going to lay a foundation for our next generation for students, is critical. And I'm happy to say that we and many other Latino, we have opened the door, so there's a good number of other Latino education experts and people who understand this, so that I think we'll be very happy with what we'll be reporting on in years to come.
Okay, so come January 2017, we're going to have a brand new administration.
Yes, we are.
Where that administration has often talked about, or in a way, sort of bashed the Latino community oftentimes. And so I'm wondering how you then work for the things that you want to accomplish, while also dealing with an administration that may not necessarily be backing the community.
Well, it's certainly going to be, I think, a challenge given what we've heard about the president-elect's rhetoric with respect to the Latino community, particularly around immigration. But what it does, and what I would say to you and to all of your listeners, it opens the door for really citizen advocacy. And that's the one thing that's good about our nation, or one of the things that's good about our nation, is our ability to advocate, to talk to our elected leaders, to be present in our state capital and in our nation's capital. And that's something the forum has consistently done, especially as we've tried to impact state policy. So there will be even more important for everyone who's engaged and cares about our country and our community to be able to voice their opinion. And the Latino Policy Forum does expect to be a portal to enable that to happen. So checking in with our website, we will be putting out news alerts and advocacy alerts, and here's how certain policy is going to impact the Latino community and here are the pros and cons to that policy with respect to the Latino community.
Okay, the LatinoPolicyForum.org is a website. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Sylvia, for coming in. Good luck with your new plan.
Oh, thank you so much, Lourdes. Good to see you as always.
Right.